Alright, hello, this is Jack, and today I am going to show you how to create an OBJ file and implement it into your C++ project and draw it into SFML. So first, I'm going to start off by describing what is in an OBJ file and what it does and what it's used for. So basically, a .obj file format kind of stores everything that's a 3D model. So you can have vertices, points, lines, faces, and this way you can store all of the data you have for a 3D model. Alright, so anyway, with these OBJ files, I created a whale model for my natural selection simulation project, which you can see here. So yeah, this is what I created, and this is all made from triangles and drawn in a 3D space. So for this specific project that I did, you only need to use geometric vertices and faces, but there's much more you can do with .obj files. Alright, so let's get into my .obj file for my whale. So here we are. As you can see, you have the V space and then their coordinates. So basically what happens here is you have a 3D plane like this. So you have X, Y, and Z, and these points correspond to a spot in 3D space, so they're vertices. So you can plot out a point here, kinda like that, or a point up here, and then like a point here. And so these are basically just points, and you plot them out wherever you want them to be. And then with the F, when you go F153, that is basically saying check which vertices are at each spot. And so for this one, you connect vertice at position 1 with vertice at position 5 and vertice at position 3 to make a triangle. So it would draw this and create a face in 3D space, which would get filled in and drawn on the project. So that's how it works. Alright, so here it is. This is my code for my group's whale simulation project. So basically what we have to do to get this OBJ file implemented into the actual project is read the file and figure out where the vertices are and how the faces correspond to that, and then make sure to make a list of triangles that will be drawn into the project. So first thing we have to do is include IOStream and FStream so that we can open the file and read it. Alright, so next what we need to do is figure out how to open the file. So basically all you really need to do for this is create an IFStream file, and I called it OBJ file for this. And then I opened the OBJ file, so you just do obj file.open, and then you put the name of the file in there, which is, you have to have it in the same file as your main.cpp. And then for this part, the second instance, you do iOS in, because the file's used for input. So yeah, that's how you open the OBJ file. And then next, what you need to do is you need to create a list of vertices. So what you do for that is first you need to create 3 floats, X, Y, and Z. You can name them whatever you want, and then what you need to create just a bool to check to make sure that everything's going good. And then you start a while loop, and I choose to do while true, although you can add a statement in the while loop if you want to. And then you also have to have a string to check if what part of the file you're in. So right at the front of the while loop, you see in the OBJ file to check. So that'll make sure the first value here goes to check, and it saves that as a string. And then if check equals v, which means it's a vertice, you see in the OBJ file to x, y, and z. So those values for the vector 3 are stored in x, y, and z. And then you have a list of vector 3s, which for me is pointless, and you push back vector 3 of x, y, and z. So that's how you make a list of vector 3s to make sure that you store all of the vertices. So the next thing you want to do is have an else if statement, and this is for if the front of the line has an f, which means you're storing a face. So you want to check and see if check equals f, and if it does, you want to do the same thing. You want to get the x, y, and z, but instead of pushing back a vector 3, you want to push back a triangle to a list of triangles that you have. And this time you want to do it at the position on pointless of x, y, and z, because what you're really doing when you're making a triangle is taking 3 different vertices and connecting them all together. So pointless at position x is a vertice, and pointless, all of pointless are vertices, so it'll connect them together and push back a triangle. And then at the end you want to have an else statement, just to make sure that if check doesn't equal f or v, that line is just skipped. So you just make a string here, and then you use the function getLine OBJ file, and then I use s for the name of my string, and that just takes the whole line and puts it on s, and it doesn't do anything with s, so that just skips the line basically. And then finally, what you want to do is have a statement at the end, an if statement that has the bool if obj file.eof. So basically, if the obj file gets to the end, then you want to break from the while loop, so it isn't an infinite loop. So yeah. Alright, so the last thing that you want to do is actually draw the triangles from the triangle list onto SFML. So inside of your loop, so basically you have a for loop here that goes through the amount of times of how many objects you want to have, and then another for loop for how many triangles you have. So basically this will draw one of the objects, and then it'll go through that many times to draw all of the objects. So basically, for what we're doing, since we have a bunch of different objects like fish and bubbles and lines in our simulation, we have an objects list to make everything easier. So to push back, we just have a new triangle, and then simulation dot whaleless at position at j dot position is basically just where the whale is in the actual simulation, and then the t-list here just draws the triangle. Alright, so that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching my tutorial on how to create an OBJ file and implement it into your C++ project. See you next time.